Hey, welcome back to I Know a Guy Bicycles Shop Talk Tuesday. And if it's Tuesday in your neck of the woods, you can most of the time rely on a live stream from I Know a Guy Bicycles Shop. Yes, if you don't know me or you just come across this channel for the first time, I am a guy in a garage that's been in the industry, cycling industry, for over 35 years. I built basically a business out of my garage, a micro shop, if you will, of a bike shop. And you can see behind me, this is my tool service area. Behind the camera is actually a fitting area as well as other specialty tools, and my shipping area where I sell parts and frames and whatever I come across to sell online. I do have several different platforms I do business through, mainly through my website, IknowAGuyBicycles.com. Also, I leverage eBay as well as other Facebook Marketplace and Craigslist, and everybody that's in business for themselves utilizes all those. But my social media platforms, YouTube is one of my bigger platforms where there is my Shop Talk Tuesday, and you may be watching me on the other platform, which is Facebook Live. So, hey, welcome, and it's Tuesday. Yes, it is, and we're going to be talking about some industry news right out of the gate, and then we're going to do some Q&A questions that I've received through either from chat or email and so forth, and I'll go into a little more detail about that. But if you do have an industry question, or if you are in the industry, want to do statements or anything of that nature, I do have a form in the comments below, or not comments, I'm sorry, in the description below. Also, I did put it in the chat, so I just built it up, so if it doesn't work, let me know. I may be able to fix it by next stream, but hopefully it'll work out, and that way I can capture those questions. And if we don't get to your question today, we will loop that in for the following week. And of course, there's that screening, but not discriminatory. There is going to be a screening of those particular questions, so not all of them may. So please don't be insulted if it's something that doesn't really quite fit the topic or what have you, or we're trying to look into discussing. And welcome to the community. This is one of those communities here on YouTube, podcast, wherever you're watching this, for a safe space for those who are in the cycling industry, either have worked or do work in shops or own bike shops, or basically manufacturing as well, all the way down to those who are just avid cyclists that just want to have a pulse of their community and so forth. So we're all come here, hopefully in a safe space where we actually can learn from each other, grow from each other, share great experiences, and move forward from there. Because, hey, cycling is supposed to be fun, right? And if you're into cycling, riding, you know it is. If you're in the industry, you know you're not making a lot of money at it, so you're here just to have a great time, and try to make it more positive, because there's a lot of stresses in life, and cycling can be definitely a benefit for all those stressful things, and also increase your health, which I've alluded to with other former topics, so forth and so forth. Got to get my speaking down correctly. It's Tuesday, and yes, kids are back in school and busy as heck. It is, if you're watching this on the replay, I do apologize. You will be seeing ads. If you don't want to watch ads during the replay, join us on Tuesday at 10 o'clock Mountain Time. So let's just dive into this. Heavy Metal Cycles. Thank you for chiming in from Austin, Texas. It's probably still a little warm in your neck of the woods. You're in one of those areas where, if you don't know, the United States is kind of split in two seasons for cycling. Kind of weird. The more of the northern half has full winter, so we stop riding in the wintertime, or some of us do. And in the southern states, it's too dang hot in the summer, so their cycling season is more in the fall, winter. As in Las Vegas, which a lot of people know Las Vegas, talking to those peeps there, they have what they call a shoulder season, which I'd never heard that term before, which means fall and spring is their peak season. It's split. I don't know if it's too cold, to ride, which it isn't in Vegas, coming from Colorado in the wintertime, but for the locals, it gets a little chilly for them, which is kind of funny. Just a side note. I'm talking about so forth. And yeah, Randy, Harvey, thank you for joining in. Southern Utah, St. George area. We drive through there quite a bit when we go to Vegas, so it's nice. Oh, you were in Iowa originally? Oh, okay. Yeah, some people don't like winter. Wife is the same way. Therefore, we have a place in Vegas that we visit to warm up, thaw out for the long winters here. Nice. Oh, Richard. Yeah, thanks. Yeah, absolutely. Hey, Precision e-bike. I got to get my words straight because people will comment and make me sound dumb. In any case, yeah, thank you, buddy, for chiming in. Josh from Precision e-bike. Yeah, still busy over here. Yeah, he's in Fort Collins, which is basically a stone throw away from me, about 10 miles, 15, I don't know, somewhere around there. And he is one of the experts in my community that his niche is e-bikes. As you can see, the Precision e-bike, where he does a lot of battery testing, motor testing, various different brands, certified and all that. Therefore, a guy like me that does kind of the general maintenance and do my own thing with road bikes and some other things, where a lot of communities have kind of watered down to more niche bike shops. Because cycling has become so huge, has so many different pieces to it. Therefore, he takes care of that in our community. Watching a video from Grava out east, Pennsylvania, I think. Sorry, Aaron, if I'm messing up where your store is. I watched a video of his last week, and he's talking about the shift of his business and the e-bike business and so forth. It's a good little watch. He's like in his second year. It's fun to see, and also it's terrifying to see somebody just getting into the cycling industry, as in opening a bike shop and doing all the things. And you know, the scary to me is I hope he doesn't fail. That's the scare part to me, because I came from a shop that did fail, and it's just one of those things. Like, the bike shops are, you know, if you don't find it quick, you're gonna go under, and that's the kind of thing. But in any case, enough jibber jabber of the local scene and the scene, and thank you for hanging out. Today's show, I wanted to start off with some, like, basically the 5 main topics of news within the cycling industry. We could either jibber jabber about it, or I'm just going to state the state. Everybody's probably nodding their head like it's kind of, it's interesting to say the least, horrifying in some parts and really questionable in others. And how is it affecting our beloved cycling community? Basically, the big word of the day is tariff. You know, like Toro. We're going to do a couple topics on that piece, but I'm going to start off with just the first one, is how tariffs, what I've seen from other companies within the cycling industry. I just watched one this morning from Zero Friction. They're a shop in Australia. They do a lot of wax testing, drivetrain testing, parts testing, that kind of thing. He also sells pre-wax chains as a business, as part of his business model. And basically the tariffs have affected his business, therefore, to a point where he's not going to be shipping into the United States. This is not just a one-off. This is several companies that are outside of our borders where they basically cannot sell into the United States. There's actually some countries that just shut us off. And this is not a thing that I want to be completely political about it. I'm just saying the effects of what's happening to us. We understand, we don't understand why, but we understand what's happening to us. And what I'm trying to say with that is, those who are looking for those chains in bike shops, parts, or all those things to keep your business running for the service part of it, as well as new product, the disruption is basically started now. We've had a lot of back and forth, uncertainties and so forth, but the hard lines are basically been drawn in the sand, especially with the de minimis being basically nulled, which means anything going in the United States that's under $800 is no longer protected for, or now is subjectable to tariffs. So, and customs and all that stuff. So it's going to be a huge disruption from all those companies. And it not just cycling. It's going to affect like Temu, AliExpress, which, you know, however you feel about it, good, bad, or otherwise, it does. But everything else, like from clothing to teacups to decals, anything that's being made out of the United States going in where they were able to get stuff in here without being dinged is now going to be dinged, which is going to stop a lot of those companies from selling to the United States. The ripple effect is going to be catastrophic. Catastrophic, big time. Woo, losing my voice. I'm not choked up because I'm choked up, just being choked up. So in any case, when you're talking about those kind of disruptions, we see it in the news, either in or out of the United States, and you're like, we're the cycling community. We are people. We just like to ride bikes. We want to be able to get our stuff to put new tires on bikes, fix them up, and so forth. When you go and get that new tube and it's 3 times more than it was a week before, or tire, we're in a big pinch. So regardless if you can't sell it to us, we may not be able to buy it anyway. I mean, that's kind of, you know, the unfortunate piece of this too, which is another thing we might touch upon. But the tariffs within that, I also saw a news article from Australia, a clothing company that does sell 30% of their business is sold into the United States, which they had to basically shut off. Reason being is they can't afford, or would be taking a loss. So they're going to have to shift a lot of their business to other countries where that's pretty much the norm globally. And it's the companies that are in the United States, if they're global businesses like Truck and Specialized, where they sell in different markets besides the United States, are going to be doing the same. Silka had a little video on that, and Josh from there has been pretty straightforward how he feels about it all and how it's affecting his business, which a couple of those videos be worth take a watch at for sure. So that's the first bullet point: is the tariffs are hitting. The de minimis was basically written off last Friday, I believe. So we're like Tuesday into it, and now we're dealing with the whole mess of it. So there we got. That's the lead part of that. The second is e-bike safety and regulations. There's been a few issues here in the States where, you know, lesser expensive e-bike batteries have been catching on fire. I've been seeing a lot of articles in Brain, Bicycle Retailer, and Industry News. Has a few articles that are related to battery fires in like New York and so forth. And New York is kind of like the hot spot of this. It came across some severe violations of safety, and that's kind of been leading the way of that kind of legislation and so forth to try to make it safe. Because honestly, batteries are not a safe thing to have. And Aaron from Guava, out East Coast, he was mentioning about battery safety, and it's like they're not going to be building batteries due to the fact it's too much of a risk, and also it's a business insurance thing. So in case in point, going to Josh at Precision E-Bike, he has the insurance for working on e-bikes and batteries and motors and stuff. My insurance policy doesn't cover that specifically, and I'm not going to take a risk. I mean, I'll work on the bike in the sense that brakes and the derailleurs, but when it comes to the motor and battery, I'm not touching that. That's kind of how the industry is kind of unfolding, let's put it. And Josh can definitely give us a lot more detail of his perspective on how that affects his business as well as others and that kind of thing. But the safety regulations, the MBDA is working hard for that, and there's Peoples for Bikes also are working on legislation, I believe, not specifically for e-bikes, but just for the cycling communities and so forth. There's a lot going on, and it just seems like every day is 5 to 10 new topics that hit. They're like, why is this happening? It's just, we're unfortunately under a very aggressive administration. Therefore, a lot of things are just going to be thrown at the wall, that kind of perspective. And there's going to be a laundry list that already has of filing lawsuits against those because they, not supposed to do that, that's illegal or whatever. And again, I'm trying not to be too political about it, but that's, if you're looking from the outside of the borders in, we understand the hot mess, but everything has its process here through going through the court systems and so forth to stop people from doing whatever they feel like they can do. So it takes time, long story short, and how a lot of those businesses we're going to be suffering through until those things get hammered out and hashed out. So that's the state of the state when it comes to that. So yeah, e-bike safety is also a huge thing going, because that's one of the biggest booms that we currently had in the cycling industry, and it still has some steam behind it, where a lot of the parts of the cycling industry, like road bikes, mountain bikes, gravel, have kind of cooled off, but there's still quite a bit of sales going on in that particular market, that piece of it for sure. All right. Oh yeah, Josh chimed in from Precision e-bike. Most of the battery challenges are from wrong chargers and so forth, and it cause the battery to overheat. I mean, there's a lot of, yeah, there's a lot of problems with that too. And yeah, John, thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it, from listening in. And tourism is down everywhere in the United States too. I keep on seeing feeds of like Las Vegas, because we go there, and the strip percentages of people going to Las Vegas have gone down significantly, where it's affecting a lot of operations, or starting to affect a lot of operations there too. So it's a big, either barometer feel or whatever. It's just not great. It's just not great. All right, chiming into, I should be writing this down. Topic 3. 17. Key industry player news. Well, I saw an article that was based in Europe where their percentages are gone down, and I'm not sure it's really partially is directly a cause of our disruption here in the States, which affects global markets. But they've already had a downward trend as well as we had here in the States. And they're feeling the effects where a lot of companies are either merging. We've had several companies go out of business. Basically, it's a big shake up to a point that gotta kind of scrap parts. And this has been going on for the last 2 years, right? So leading into this, it's already been not great. And a lot of companies in the European market, as well as others, have been kind of streamlining and either partnering up with other companies or being bought out and so forth. Is this something really extremely new? No, that happens a lot. And it happens over the years in different economical evidence woes. What's different about this one, though, is it's compounded not just one market, but all markets. And one of the bigger leading markets, which is ours, which is kind of unfortunate, because when it's most disrupted is the most impact globally. So yeah, it's a hot mess. That's all I gotta say. And reading into that, there was a couple of companies, and I think it was one of the European syndicates I was reading, that where that kind of disruption has kind of changed the market, and they're not expected to go up. And I've heard certain countries are no longer going to be selling into the United States. Germany, maybe one of them. Italy, which is like your nice French, Italian frames, and Germany is a big one because that's where you get like nice German steel Connex chains and so forth. And like, whoa, wait, if they're not going to sell to the supplier here in the States, how am I going to get my replacement chains when I do sell through them? That directly affects me, like, bottom line right off the bat. So, in any case, let's see. Business confidence. Right now, and this has been going on for several months, that with the tariffs, knowing like on again, off again, on again, pushback, whatever. It's caused a lot of these companies to not be able to forecast, basically forecasting to have a product built, to be brought into the States, to how it's going to be brought into the States or be shipped out globally, how it's going to affect those markets. Is it going to be a strong enough market to be able to sell the products that they need to? It's paralyzed them. So they can't, the only thing they do is like super light and polite. And see where they can find successes within the other markets besides the United States, which is just insane. And, you know, Josh at Silka mentioned that. It's like, well, he had a brand new pump and it was being built in China. And that's one of the better manufacturers to make micro pumps. Well, with that micro pump that they're releasing, the first batch only got a few of them in the States, but the rest of them were sold in Europe and Asia and Australia markets because they couldn't get them in without being dinged. Well, now after last week's debacle of change, those particular items are not going to be easily brought into the United States at all. So we're going to see a huge pinch on products and how creative, or if there's any loopholes or any way to get it into the products. In other words, we're going to be starting to feel the effects now. Walking into Walmart, which I'm really close to proximity-wise, and getting some stuff for back to school for my daughter, walking by the bike rack area, it's half empty, which it should be kind of full. So there it goes into those particular markets where 80% of our bikes that are being sold in the United States, if not more, is sold through Walmart, Target, Sports Authority, or Sports Academy, other sporting good chains and so forth, the lower end stuff. That's majority of the bulk of it. So when you're looking at Trek Specialized, Cannondale, Pond Group, or the upper end stuff, those are specific bike shops. That's a way smaller percentage. It's, you know, so when you look at companies like Kent International, which sells a lot, or importers, importers or international, they sell to Walmart and Target, which I think Ozark Trail is one of the brands that they build up. But they also had Univega as one of theirs, which they're going to shut down the facility, or if that I haven't already, for assembly Univega because of all this disruption. So when you're looking at a company like that, it's like they basically put a hard stop on any products coming in from China. I mean, however you feel about coming to China for anywhere else, it's a hot mess. And it's an American company which employs Americans, but therefore you basically doing this drastic changes has caused them to basically shut down already productions and so forth, and try to, they're just trying to survive at this point, trying to figure out how they're going to get through this through a year or two, because they only have enough bank accounts to carry them through. Oh, my throat is dry for some reason. Woo! All right, so take a little bit of a look here on the chat before I dive into the fifth topic here. Oh yeah, that's what it was, John. Thank you for John Duff. That's what I'm drawing a blank. That's what I saw that video this morning about zero friction. I forget his name. He was talking about DHL basically shutting down from Australia, restricting anything going into the United States temporarily. Well, whatever temporarily is, in other words, it's such a toxic ship zone that a major global shipping company has been like, nope, you're not sending your stuff there, which a lot of small companies and shops that just, if you're making little widgets to clothing accessories to like zero friction, they're making, you know, pre-waxed chains, basically shuts that business off completely. That's hard. It's really hard to adjust for sure. So yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. I mean, I remember it's like, dude, that was kind of a jaw dropper. Like, whoa, crazy. And I wonder how. I mean, they ship internally in the United States too. I wonder how that's going to be affected. I'll have to look up to that. It's going to be kind of crazy. Oh, heavy metal cycles. I noticed that cheap tubes I bought at Ace Hardware, which were a Bell brand, which I think they're a parent of many companies, were dated to 2019. Dated? Oh. So there's still inventory in the United States. We still had a massive insurgent of leftovers from the overproduction. That's one thing. And second, some of these companies were on the ball that before even January hit, they were getting orders in and back, filling up their warehouses as much as they can. So when you're looking at, if you're just an avid cyclist, you may not know these companies, but QBP, JBI, BTI, Holley, I think is still around, and various other suppliers that buy from all these different brands. They warehouse them in the United States, and they sell it to smaller bike shops. Not me, but other bike shops. They've been trying to. I mean, they saw the tea leaves. I mean, they were pre-ordering this stuff in, especially for bread and butter. When you're talking about like chains, cables, tires, tubes, all that kinds of things, that they've been buying up in that. And although this week specifically, I was able to buy most of my parts for repairs I have in the stand right now for a customer, I've been able to find most of it on sale so far. So we got a two thing going on. It's like nobody's buying anything, therefore they're putting it on sale because they needed money to move, regardless if it's discounted. So even though you think the prices went up, like Specialized did a line item tariff on their products back a few months ago, and Trek just blankly said everything's going to be more expensive and took everything off sale. Now, within about a month later, like, oh, we're not selling anything. So we got to sell. So we have this whiplash. It's just causing a huge havoc within the companies. They're still trying to figure out how to manage all the new product, that kind of thing. So that's going to have a ripple effect on all of us for sure. All right. Oh, thanks. Hey, Jason, how you doing? From a GPA bike shop. You're a little hole-in-the-wall shop like me-ish and on the East Coast. Nice. Thanks for joining in. All right, so that's like the hot four. And another one that came up, and I'm going to be truthfully honest, I use AI. It's like, what's the last? I am so busy doing stuff, working on bikes and so forth. And we'll get into that in a little bit. But, it's like, what's the 5 biggest topics that are within the U.S. cycling industry right now? And then the top one is, the 5th one is, let me get a little timestamp here. 28. New products, like development and so forth. One of the topics was intriguing because Mosaic, which is a titanium smaller company, they were at the Made Show, I believe, which was last weekend, and I think it's in Portland, Oregon, where they have all these smaller made hand-built or frame builders and so forth. The Tumbleweed was there and a couple other brands that are smaller. Mosaic, Moots from Colorado Springs, or not Colorado Springs, Steamboat Springs. Got to get my springs right. They were there, and they do titanium, and they have booths. And it's kind of like it's a show for the public as well as industry people. And there's several YouTubers. One of these days, I'll get there myself and do a nice show and tell and interview some of these cats because some of their brands I've worked on and I'm very impressed. But Mosaic was talking about new R&D designs and so forth. And I think one of the topics, I'm not sure who was them specifically, but the video I saw interviewing one of the older guys like me building frames, and his concept in R&D is like, I'm building a frame to last from your Joe Racer days to your recreational riding days, because your body changes over age, and then it has those adjustments and abilities. So it's not just a bike frame that you, like most of these big companies, once you buy a new bike every 3 years, they're trying to give quality to a nice ride that you'll be able to use through several phases of your life, which I thought was very intriguing. So that was kind of like, wow, that's kind of cool. I mean, if you think about it, I was talking to a customer yesterday, and she was having, she's getting older, knee problem, back problems, things happen, and she's thinking of getting a new frame and a new bike. And actually, one of the bikes in my stand is one of hers, and her husband was like, well, I was looking at this frame, so forth, and one of the big brands, but has a Kool-Aid saying it's supposed to have so much flex and so forth, and addressing those particular issues. And I'm like, whoa, hold on. First thing you need to do is go back to your fitter. She had a professional fit done, and see where you're at now with your body, your age, and things are progressing. And then there's going to be conversations about what kind of frame, size of frame, components that go to that, cranks, stems, all that kinds of stuff. Those in the industry know all the fitting bits. Those who are just watching this going, oh, fit's a huge thing. It is a big thing. If you're becoming an avid cyclist, it is at that point you're justifiable to spend a little money to have a proper fit done, which is with the dots and the cameras and everything. That will change your riding experience to a next level, even for your just average recreational riders, because that'll help you progress and become, as in John Bradley, a buddy of mine says, the bike just melts underneath you and you just have a great ride. So, but through the changes of your body over time, that changes too. So going back to new products, looking at that, a lot of people in the industry are realizing it's like not everybody is racers. It's actually a very small percentage. The rest of us are recreational riders. Maybe some of us do some races, but it's more of a novice fun stuff, or club rides, or just ride by ourselves. And that's where a lot of the product innovation is probably going to be looked into doing, because there's a good chance they're going to get investment on the return in a few years when everything kind of shakes out here and people get back to riding. Well, they are riding. Let's not say, and everybody's still riding. When they start producing newer, flashier stuff. A lot of big companies use new R&D things, flashy new product, and that they show on the tours to try to drive sales for that season. And it's always been, it's been like that since the 80s, even probably before that. But that new R&D piece is changed. So it's not like, hookless rims and the 13-speed from Campanoli, kind of cool, but is it realistic for the rest of us? Pretty much every you that are watching right now, they're probably like, nope, that doesn't fit in my wheelhouse whatsoever. And due to my customer yesterday, they're not buying into the electronic shifting. They're like, they want to get a newer bike with a cool paint job with cable routed frame that's new. That's a tricky bit. You look at the newer stuff, you're kind of leveraged there. So anyway, that's where we're kind of at for the top 5. We'll talk about the horrible T word in a second, but let's do this first. Bicycles, hanging with a guy. Hey, I'm Justin, the guy in the garage. I do have a garage shop, and you see most of these tools behind me. I want to do a shout out to JensonUSA, which you'll find a link below if you're looking for some good pricing and as well tools to fit or to expand your actual shop at home. Need to take a little swig of coffee and kind of catch up on the chat here. Yeah, Randy, thank you. You're, never late. Just when you show up. Yeah, the party hasn't started until Randy shows up. Let's just put it that way. Thanks for joining in. Brother from a different mother that does have a shop. I think you're in California, right? So yeah, you have some interesting perspectives going on in your world as well. Absolutely. I'm gonna check something real quick. All right. So. All right. So I wanted to, the original topic was, the original news piece was tariffs. And we're going to talk a lot more about that. I know. I'll try and make it quick and this is all opinion piece on my perspective. So there alludes, that's where we're at. So tariffs, well, we got it broken down in 5 different parts. That's currently state of the state, like the last week. 50% of steel have been hit with tariffs that go on to e-bikes and also components. That raw steel going into the United States to manufacture e-bikes. That whole thing right there is dumb. I mean, if the whole administration is trying to drive more production being done in the United States, why are you handicapping the raw materials coming in to build products in the United States? So it has no, and there's no rhyme to reason to any of this, it seems. So that was a pretty interesting eyebrow, like, and held tit, like, why are you, I mean, you're saying one thing and you're doing another, and it's, one of the, that's just causing a huge ripple effect. And that's also a bicycle retailer. I think I saw that one. So I definitely would check that out as a read. That when you, and that's what another thing I don't understand too, like the automotive industry is really affected by this tit for tat thing, because a lot of the products, you're part of building cars is our neighbors to the north, us locals, like the civilians of the states, love our neighbors. I mean, Canadians, great. I've had a lot of clients and viewers, and hey, we're so disheartened about all this as much as you, as well as others in other markets. It's like, so please don't blame us individually, but I understand. I mean, there's going to be some anger. And when you're talking about like Ford, for example, some of the stuff has to go across the border to be, put together, then it gets pushed back over in the United States. It's part of doing business. Business 101 is like, you try to get the stuff done the best quality for the cheapest price, or whatever, or whoever does it the best, you have them do it. And then you instead of reinventing the wheel, you're just leveraging other companies. I mean, that's big business. It's always been that way. And when you put a ding each time, on that product to build a complete product, which bicycles, as everyone here should know, that you got the frame and fork. That's what the manufacturers usually are control of or have built or whatever. Componentry, shifting brakes, derailleurs and all that. It's usually like SRAM, Campanoli, Shimano. And then you have like wheel manufacturing. You got all the other bits in there. So a bicycle is usually a beautiful collage of different companies making the best thing for that part of the bike. And that's where it broke off in the 70s. It's nothing new. So when you're looking at that part and you're causing a ripple effect between tariffs of bringing products back and forth to can do a complete product or raw materials, it's crippling. So a lot of these different companies. So, and what that cripple is going to be a triple down to us consumers. We're not going to have products whatsoever. My little dog decided to walk into the garage. Chippers. You want to say hi? Come here, Chip. Come here. Come here. This is Chippers. He would be my shop dog, but he doesn't like all the noises, like the ultrasonic cleaner and all that. I'm sure a lot of you that have shop dogs that really stay away from the ultrasonic cleaner and the noisy service area. So yeah, you just got back from a walk, didn't you? Okay. All right. Back you go. So that rippling effect of tariffs on raw materials and back and forth part making has just been horrible. Going to the second part of the tariff nightmare is, this one was very interesting. The tariffs have been so basically focused and attacked on China product and goods that it has dropped the percentage of sales so low, those particular companies are shifting a lot of the products to be made in Cambodia. They didn't state it in here, but Vietnam and various other countries where they've already been doing this shift. So the other shift is companies like Kent International and those that do a lot of the stuff in China. Now they're moving to other countries where Chuck and Specialized and Giant specific that do a lot of Taiwan products have shifted because Taiwan got too expensive. So they went to Vietnam and then Cambodia to have a lot of their products built. I've been noticing Cambodia labels on a lot of truck boxes for the last few years. I mean, I was like, oh, Cambodia. I thought that was a very scary place to, I mean, nothing against Cambodia or Cambodia people, but it doesn't sound like a very, for our perception, it doesn't look like a very safe place to go. But that's changed because they've been getting pumped in a lot of money for manufacturers to build up. So take another step back. It's like, couple decades ago, we were building up Taiwan because we were funneling a lot of business to them. Now this gives other countries opportunities where they could step up and also help their people out with driving of business. However you feel about the quality of life, how people are treated or all that, but the baseline is those particular people that live in those countries, now they have an opportunity to at least work. So if you think about that a little bit, you kind of like, oh, yeah, well, I mean, yeah, it's one thing to, but you're trying to cut off the head of the snake, but it doesn't work out that way. And it's just not working well. In any case. All right. So the big shift. So yeah, Trek and Specialized and Giant. They do, I mean, Specialized is built by Merida, and Merida is solely based in Taiwan, but now they probably have a factory or something of that sort in Vietnam where these companies are smart. I mean, they're going to diversify to bring, cheaper, bring the prices down where the profits could, the companies can make more profit. And there's more profit for those companies. However you may feel about that, because, a lot of those bike companies are making those $10,000, $15,000 bikes, and you're like, for who and why? But in any case, I don't want to go there per se, but that was kind of the interesting part of, the tariffs have changed, made it super expensive coming from China. Therefore, these other companies are going to be looking for other countries to get around that, to not have this extreme tariffs. So that's just a huge thing. So, and then you have reciprocal tariffs. Well, here's the thing. It's like, I'm a bike mechanic, and a lot of this stuff is like, I don't really pay attention to. It's not in my world. It never was needed to be in my world. In a bike shop or an avid cyclist, never really thought about these things. But now all these things are affecting you directly and your businesses, small or large alike, retail business, and then you have the companies that sell us all this stuff. It directly affects them. So it is, as I want to put it, it's like we are a community in the cycling industry where we used to compete. Now we're just trying to figure out how to help each other survive what's going on. Case in point, Zero Friction was like, well, I can't sell to my customers in the United States anymore because DHL won't ship there. So even in his video, he gave suggestions where to buy pre-wax chains. I mean, Silka has a few in the United States. Vital Bike chains, he's pretty decent, good quality. He did, Shimano, SRAM, and KMC chains, pre-wax. That's his business. So I mean, he's basically handed the baton. It's like, well, customers, this is where you can go to get those until all this gets figured out. So there alludes that a lot of us in the cycling industry need to step up more to help each other out, even though you may be competitors, but like, hey, we don't have competitors anymore. It doesn't drive us to do better. So, and our communities have already been kind of, for the last few years, been driven to that direction. I mean, I don't think my bike shops around me think of me as a threat whatsoever. and I as well. And we've become more reliant on each other to help each other out. Because I know some of the bigger brand, even some of the box store have sent me business because they've heard of me or knew of me. They like my vibe or whatever, but they're like, we can't do it here, but go check out, I know a guy and he might be able to help you out, which I was kind of jaw dropped when I heard that. I'm like, whoa, you're directing my, so that's our culture that's been happening for the last couple of years. I think we're going to have to leverage that more amongst each other within the industry that we love. Because number one, none of us are here to make a lot of money. Number two, we're passionate about cycling, and it's supposed to be about the community anyway. So the community portion of bike shops, regardless if it's a corporate store or not, we're going to be helping each other out. And the funny thing is, and this is what really gets to me on that, is a lot of those people that work at the corporate stores either worked in the private, independent shops or vice versa. So there's already a subculture of buddies that we hang out and go rides on, even though we work in different shops. So it's, we already have that community feel, and it's been like that for decades. Now it's just becoming more enhanced because we got to really leverage and help each other out when we can. So looking at these different, tariffs or tit for tat causing all these issues, we're going to have shortages, and at the end of the day, we're going to try to keep our community on their bikes and riding and getting new products when we can and that kind of thing. But it's going to be a tough role, I do have to say. And the other, well, this is the big one, de minimis, which I had no freaking clue what that was 6 months ago. But, that's where, if you don't know by now, that was the $800 and below anybody from any company out of the United States can ship into the United States without going through customs and hit with tariffs. That really helped a lot of small businesses and also consumers to get what they want. But there were some problems with that. There is. I mean, have to be addressed, but just with a hatchet, it's really hurting a lot of companies. And like that one company, between DHL not shipping to us, in addition to companies that were selling clothing products, maybe a lower niche or line specific, whatever that product may be, can't ship it into the United States anymore. This also affects companies that are in the United States that leverage products being built on demand to be shipped into the United States. So you're now hurting United States companies as much as you can by doing this. Granted, I knew there needed to be some fixes to it. I mean, we had the e-bike problems, and maybe too inexpensive e-bikes were coming in and more dangerous. Those products are not being double checked for lead paint and any of that. I mean, it was kind of like Wild West. I do get that. There's some safety issues there that need to be addressed. But for general products coming in, yeah, that's a problem, big time. Yeah, so looking at that, it's just, yeah. So myself looking at a company trying to build on demand jerseys and shorts with my branding on it is pretty much put on the back burner until it can be worked out. And those particular companies that do that, Primal Wear is one, Jackaroo's another. One the two big print jersey short kit stuff. It's so disruptive that they're going to have a hard time to navigate it, and they already have been having a hard time navigating it around that. So, therefore, that's and they're big, but they're not big. When you even look at Truck and Specialized, they're big in our world, but they're not big compared to everything else out there. So that's a big eye opener too, for sure. All right, and lastly, industry-wide financial impact. Oh, let's see here. There was one company. Oh, Fox Factory. If I read this right. is lost in the last 6 months, upwards to $50 million in sales this year. So that's one of many, right? Of companies trying to navigate. And Fox Factory, you know, shocks, suspension, and so forth. And then you have the Fox clothing, which you can get confused. And then you look at, you know, the winter products. Let's talk about Salomon, Scott, which they do bikes too. You're talking about skis, snowboards, and all that, which we're about ready to dive into. How is that going to really affect what's going to happen with our industry here? I mean, you know, a lot of those companies are United States companies, but then Rosinals and other. I just remember when we used to rent skis and snowboards back in the day, and it's like, you know, skiing and snowboarding in itself has gotten so expensive that just ticket sales from, I would say, Vail Resorts, which owns majority, they really capitalized on the whole ski industry. And driven prices up. It's very expensive. It's very expensive. I mean, a bike, you can get on your bike and go out your front door and go for a ride. In most cases, not everybody's environment's that conducive to that. But for skiing and snowboarding, it's like it's a destination thing. You got to go. You get a lift ticket, and you pay for, you know, gas, food, lodging, all that stuff. It's little mini vacations for a lot of us, and especially in Colorado. Even when you live here, it's pretty darn expensive. And hard to get to because now the traffic is just totally horrible. But in any case, those particular product lines that leverage those particular industries where it's a luxury line item in our current state of the state, that's going to be the first thing written off. Like, ooh, we're not doing skiing this winter because we can barely afford milk and eggs and prices like that. And that was another part of the financial impact, which I found very interesting, is the party pace. He has over 200,000 subscribers. He's moved to Spain, him and his wife. Pathless Party, I don't know, I forget. Basically, he's been doing YouTubing for 10 years. A little backstory. Him and his wife did a lot of adventure riding, backpacking riding, and so forth. He got really into it, and he made a channel, and he got very successful. And I think it was about a year ago, they just sold everything in the States and moved over to Spain and Europe, and they're doing videos over there and anything. But he came back, and they had a video, and that's one of the videos I watched for The Maid, which is looping back to small manufacturer, small hand-built frames and so forth. Steiner, I think it was another one, which is in California. They do white labeling for titanium and steel bikes. Their first part of the video was talking about how different the pricing was living in Spain and then coming to the United States in that short period of time that they've moved away and they came back. I mean, it's like everything is so much more expensive. Living here, we've noticed it go up, but you may have not noticed it too much because it's smaller increments. But when you look at that drastic effect of how much, you know, having a glass of wine at a restaurant compared to, you know, and how much food is at the store, and like, whoa, I mean, then you, like, oh yeah, that has gone up to that. And they're like, it's not like that in Europe whatsoever. So therefore, we're having that huge industry-wide impact of everything, and seeing videos from individuals in the cycling industry, checking out stuff, going, this is a lot more expensive trip than they anticipated, and hopefully their videos will offset and, you know, cover that loss that they were probably not anticipating when they rolled in, how expensive that may have turned out. In any case, that alludes to the craziness of, and I talked about the news way longer than I thought that I wanted to. But in any case, please, if you like hearing me talk about it, please give me a thumbs up, chime in. Pathless pedaled. That's what it is. I always tongue twister me up all the time. Thank you, Heavy Metal Cycles, for letting me chime in on that. Let me push in another little plug here while I drink some coffee and all that. whole bunch of bike stuff and you just need to get rid of it, you know, no longer needs to be in your garage, needs to be in somebody else's garage and actually, hey, maybe being used. Go to bikeflights.com. You can actually open up an account yourself or just put in a one-time usage, put in the destination, so forth, the bike size, dimensions, and weight. Don't forget the weight. And add that insurance because you'll definitely want to make sure that insurance is covered if something happens in that UPS or FedEx or whatever transfer going to that next destination. You want to be protected. Then you just have to drop it off at your local UPS store and be able to get it on its way. And again, I have shipped bikes, parts, wheels, and frames for decades now. And Bike Flights is sure enough one of the best directions to go. Uh-oh. Sorry about that. Bike mechanic trying to do YouTube. Hopefully you can still hear me and see me. All right. So industry topics. That covered a good freaking hour because there's so much going on and so hot and heavy. Yeah. In any case. Oh yeah, in the 70s, 80s from Korea. I remember Schwinn, like the company that bought the name Schwinn, and after Schwinn went down, they were started building bikes like in Hungary in the 90s, and it was kind of, it was bad because the products that are coming out there, the quality control is horrible. But I mean, since they've learned from those lessons, and you can't just change a factory and production and not have the same quality coming out of that. So the bike mechanics at the bike shops are buying the bikes, local independent bike shops, they will raise a big stink when stuff comes in and the next model year and it's from a different factory and it's not what it was. It does get kicked up big time. In any case, so I'm taking a page out of a book of other influencers out there in YouTube, and I wanted to bring a little more value to our Shop Talk Tuesday as a community. Reason being is I've been watching some other videos, live streams from other influencers out there, and I see a lack of not something, you know, they have their thing. People like watching them talk about whatever they want to watch about, but it's just very hollow to me, in a sense. It's not really bringing a value to you to spend the time to watch or listen in and that kind of thing. So this will translate, I believe, hopefully it'll translate to avid cyclists, recreational cyclists, to bike shops, because the questions or the content is going to be related to both and can be shared by both and be beneficial by both, regardless of where you're at. Big shop, small shop, mountains, city, lakes, riding, whatever, rails, trails, that kind of deal. So I wanted to introduce this as kind of like, you know, I put a link to a form to fill out for those who want to generate questions and so forth, either from a shop or what have you. And that way I can kind of help build that out. And again, I'm stealing this from, I'm borrowing on lease from other influencers and how they've done their live streams, but not in the cycling live streams. I haven't seen all of them. I've just seen a few, and what I've seen is kind of like, so I think we could do better. So I'm going to try to do better and try to be better and always trying to improve and a little more structure and that kind of thing. So as a business owner, and especially since what I'm doing, I'm becoming more getting out there, right? And which is great. That's not a complaint whatsoever. This is awesome. But when you get out there, you get your name out there, your company out there, people start asking questions. They feel like you're the person they need to go to get at least try to get, you know, the answers by or from and that kind of thing. And some influencers, they want to charge for all that. I don't want to charge for any of it. I mean, if you want to support my channel and you just want to throw some money down, great. I'm not going to say no to that. But I would highly encourage you to look at my affiliate links below and take advantage of those. So you're getting something that you would probably be buying anyway, either from Amazon or shipping something for Bike Flights or buying it from Jenson's. As long as you're going through the affiliate link, I get a little kick. you know, and therefore I'm helping you drive that direction, and you're going to be there anyway. So it's a win-win. I mean, that's how I rather be supported versus bluntly asking you for subscriptions or straight up money, and making you feel like you're part of that club, which right now everybody's really tight and on their purse strings. I totally get that. We are too, and we want to be mindful of that. But that's one way of supporting my channel. And also, there's a shop shelf with t-shirts like this you can buy too, and that kind of thing. Well, that's where it leads to this conversation piece, and I hope you guys get a kick out of it. And as if this works, I'll just keep continuing to do it. Oh, before I go into that, I'm going to go into Randy's question here. Thank you for joining us, Randy. Appreciate it. Have you developed relationships with Push or Dirt Labs if you need to send shocks away for service? Yes. I haven't really used Push. Well, let's back up a little bit. Woo! I don't do a lot of suspension bikes per se. I've kind of cut out more of the road recreational, like hybrids and so forth. But not to say that I do have a lot of customers that do both, and I have told them that I'm not set up to do suspension work because it's absurdly insane. You're talking about older parts and tools and different models and all that stuff. I mean, that's probably Dirt Labs is one of the great examples of a bike shop that cut out a niche of only doing suspension work over a decade ago. So this has already been kind of happening by nutrition to our industry for a while now. Now it's just become a lot more prominent. And that's where a lot of people have, you can't do everything. I mean, you can try, but if you don't have, the failure rate is higher. Let's put it that way. So going to Randy's question here is like, for myself, if I have suspension and it's newer within the last 5 years-ish, I can contact them, drop off their 30-minute drive, or I can just throw it in a box and ship to them pretty cheap. And they'll do the suspension work on it. And I think they have pretty close to a flat rate for a lot of front end and rear shocks, and then send it back, and then we put it together. Case in point, one of the local corporate stores, even though they technically have their own shop services within the corporate itself, but talking to the guys, I'm not going to say the name of the corporate because they may get in trouble. They still just ship their shocks over there because it's a hell of a lot faster than shipping it to their own facility, supposedly. And I don't know if they're still even, I mean, I heard them building up 5 or 6 of them nationwide to have their stores send them to it. But I don't know if they're still doing it or not. That's a good question. I'll have to ask them if they still have that back end service for their own suspension work. Because even then, you have over 100 stores, and you're like, we need to send this elsewhere. And I think REI has been leveraging. I know REI has been leveraging. What I was talking about before wasn't REI, but I know REI has been leveraging Dirt Labs for their suspension work for a while now. So yes, that's a good question. So yes, I do leverage them. And Push for upper end rear suspension it just baffles me if they're, they do great stuff, but I'm just like, wow, there's still a demand for that subs. I mean, it's not OEM suspension. It's like you'd get a nice suspension in a bike, and then you decide that you want to put that shock on it. So that's kind of crazy. Oh, okay. Yeah, Randy, they do. Some service work, some people do. Like the just general maintenance and oil change kind of thing, upper chamber work, as you're mentioning here on the chat. But then again, I only have so much time in a day and that kind of thing, and I already have plenty. There's plenty of work to go around for the service part of it. I would leverage them, and I know some of those corporate stores will do some of that lower maintenance stuff. But what if you come across a problem? Right? Like you come across a problem and you're like, oh, it's a little more above my pay grade. as a bad terminology. It's like we're not really equipped to do this, so then we have to send it out anyway. So it's kind of like I'd rather just have it all done. then it's backed and taken care of by people that do it right the first time. Suspension, dirt labs, e-bike stuff, e-precision, or precision e-bike is my go-to for e-bike stuff for sure. So back to the questions. So I've been getting several years now, emails, comments, can you help me out with this and so forth? I'm like, hey, this is a great place to answer those. And you get if you're here live and hear your question, then you can interact. Or if you have a question, I do have the form that helps you interact with the actual question and concern. So let's kick this off. Starting with the first question, it was actually from the email question. And it was from another shop, believe it or not. And they were talking, they've seen some of my videos about waxing and how it's benefited by a shop and so forth. And they were wondering what my costs were for doing like the chain spa. And they were thinking about doing chain spa, which was, a chain spa locally at their shop. But they're not going to do any mail-in ordering, that kind of thing, which I have as an option, but quite honestly, that's not been really that profitable. I've only had a few of those transactions, so it's not something really to dive in. But in-house, when the customer's there and waxing chains on new specifically, it's been really great. And they were asking if there was a breakdown on price and so forth. They basically want a little more detail on that. So we're going to talk about chain waxing and how is that incorporated into how leverage that into a bike shop. Well, you can just do the basic wax chain, and to learn the processes, there's several videos either on my library or any other's library to learn how to do that. Zero Friction is a good one to watch. It's kind of dry, but you can skip through the parts and get the gist of what needs to be done to do this as a service. So yeah, you got to clean the chain, new or used, like from everything, and then you got to wax it properly. Then you have to install it properly and shed the waxing process, and there's a process to it. But you can do that to a handful of you can pre-wax chains, like you're doing waxing day, you just have your person in the back just cleaning wax chains for an afternoon. You get a bulk of these built up already, so they're really just to pull off the shelf. It is a process. It's that kind of thing. It's messy, and that's where a lot of people are intrigued to have it already pre-waxed, because they don't have to deal with that mess, and they can just use the drip wax as an aftermarket upsell. Silica makes a really good one as an upsell. So this gentleman's question from the shop, asking it, is, you can do a volume. You buy, one or have one chain done. And you can do multiple. I have a little discount. I'm already doing the service work. The chain is still in good shape. I'm already cleaning the chain for the drivetrain. I just do a little extra cleaning to wax it. Give like a $10, $15, $20, whatever that fits your price model as an uplift, and that also adds to your ticket item as making a little more profitability. Then once you get that person in the wax and they know how to maintenance it and so forth, and there's a couple of school of thoughts on that. So you can do multiple chains for one bike, and then you just swap out the chains. So Swanee Cycles in Las Vegas, what they do is they've gotten in they're drinking the Kool-Aid of the wax, and they have themselves a silica waxer. But what they do for the customers, and which I did for mine, is you have their backup chains in the shop already. You pre-wax them, so when they bring their bike in, you just swap it out, and it keeps the length of the chain, or life of the chain, life of the drivetrain, and all that. There's so many beneficial pieces of it for those that do a lot of avid cycling. Also, the benefit part of it is it's clean. It's not dirty. And it's smooth and all those things. And, you can increase 6 watts or whatever they want to sell you on the Kool-Aid for the testing. But in any case, it's just one of those things where that is an opportunity to elevate your service department as another item to benefit the customer, because there's a clear benefit right off the bat, and also increase the profitability of your service line items and so forth. And the equipment and so forth is really not that expensive. A bag of wax will go through a lot of chains. So there's a pretty good value in return. And you're basically saving the customer a whole bunch of hot mess, literally, of doing it in their own house. So, and also serving, and that gets them back into the store. And the Swanee Cycles is brilliant of having their customer chains already pre-waxed, but as they're coming back in, and hey, they may pick up some nutrition bars or bottles or whatever they have as an impulse rack, or extra tubes, or what have you, to continue their journey on the ride. Plus, they're also maintaining their bike and having double checked for safety for avid cycling. So that just gives that customer to come back in and be part of that community bike shop kind of feel, because they got my chains down there, they're all waxed up and they're ready to go. So so there's a huge lift to that, and that's where I wanted to bring that question to as a kickoff, because I've seen it beneficial for my customers' bikes, my neighbors' bikes, and myself for just doing that process. In addition to, I've seen it as a benefit, so much so, I actually have pre-waxed chains for sale for just to buy, which I've sold a few, or mostly it's easy to do as an uplift on basically a new chain sale on a bike. It's like, well, this is dirty and grungy. I mean, let's get you a chain. I was going to grab one, but I don't want to get my hands dirty. And then you show them the wax properties, and it doesn't take much to get them to drink the Kool-Aid. Like, oh, that's clean. And you just show them how to use the drip lube, and then you're selling these bottles of drip lube from Silka or whoever. I mean, Silka makes one, Connex makes another one too. You know, basically it's emulsified pure wax, so once it dries, it's the same formula that's on there. So therefore, they can wax their they can lube their drivetrain by using wax and still keep all those added benefits. And then if they do the drip a couple times, that prolongs that stage of having the full wax done. Okay, I'm going on a little bit more about that, but he wanted to know the price structure. And it's like, yeah, there's a little bit of discount if you do multiples, so you can do that within your shop. Then it's also an uplift. I mean, I've had customers like, do it to all my bikes. I mean, there's no question now. I mean, I've gotten into it. It's like every bike I get in here, you're putting on a wax chain. If it's even remotely stretched or elongated chain, then switch it and put a newer one. Okay, and there's a thing about chains. And it's like, those in the industry understand a little bit more than the general consumer. A lot of people like, I got a Shimano drivetrain, I want a Shimano chain. I want a SRAM drivetrain, I want a SRAM or a Campanella. That's fine. But SRAM basically made a business of copying chains or having chains available to go on to Shimano originally back in the 90s. That's where it all came about. And a lot of this, and now they're trying to be more chain specific, like the flat tops or whatever. But I'm talking about like your 10 speeds, 11 speeds and less. A lot of those chains are interchangeable. Boy, it's a big word. What you really want to do back in the day is get the best chain quality at the end of the day. That lasts a little bit longer. And that Connex is a German steel chain, which is really good. They also have a removable link that you don't need a tool for. That's the benefit of that chain. SRAM and Shimano, they don't want to back their little quick links. Then they say they're only one-time use, but all of us know in the industry that we've been using them multiple times. Regardless, they're just saving their butt for whatever. In any case, so yeah, it's a little bit more of a lift, but I've had it's been very successful with a lot of my customers are fine with that. So there you go. Hopefully I answered that question. I already answered that one via email, but I want to bring that to light as an example. And here's another one. This one's more recent. And it's like, I saw your videos, nicely done. And there's talking about lithium. The other feature thing I've been doing is ceramic coating frames and detailing, which, I've been in the industry for so long, I need to find something new and fun to do. So I've been doing a lot of paint correction and so forth. And he was asking, I had a client bike last week on my stand, and he was like, is it okay to use on 1990s Kleins? Yes. It's not going to cause any chemical reaction. It's a protective. I don't know the science behind it, but I know it's good for multiple materials. You can stack it. You just put it on, let it. a cure for 4 hours, and you can put another layer on it to develop a shell. So you can do multiple layers, protect it. That actually will seal in all those little cracks. The process of ceramic coating cars, boats, bikes alike, it's really the coating itself is easy to do. It's all the darn cleaning prep work that needs to be done prior to that. Clean frame, detailed and buffed, get all those contaminants off. If you have a newer paint and it looks in pretty good shape, clean it really good, then go over it with rubbing alcohol with a clean cloth, fiber cloth if you have it, to get anything that may not be visually there off that paint before you start putting that ceramic coating on it. So yes, it is safe for pretty much all paints. Multiple materials, steel, aluminum, titanium, even plastic and rubbers, it's fine on. Specifically, the lithium is fine with that. But if you do have questions with any products that you're going to use on your bikes and so forth, and you have a question of how it's going to, if it's going to discolor anything, contact the company directly, because they will know more about their particular products than a mechanic in a garage will ever. Because lithium specifically, they'll get back to you with a whole laboratory explanation of how what works, what doesn't work, or what have you, what is a combination of that. They're very good to work with. A lot of other companies are the same way. If you can't contact them, they have like a firewall for talking about their products and so forth, don't buy from them. If they're not susceptible to take care of the customers that are using the products at the end result, and they just want to dump the stuff out there and not take care of that particular problem, it's not a company for you to buy from. So lithium's very susceptible to answering questions, so forth. Adams products here in Colorado is the same thing, and various others. I could name, but I don't have that much time. Anyway, that's one of those things where you can really benefit your paint, protection of the materials, make it look nice. For resale, a service package, I included that into my bike shop as a new bike service package. I include a static fit, ceramic coating the frame. That's a new paint job, and also waxing the chain out of the gate. And you got a little package there that covers all three of those. And I've had a few people take up on that because they bought a brand new bike. They bought it from a direct mail order, and they want to be double checked and safed and all that. And that's a great way you can do all that and take care of it, and take care of the customer. And you got a new customer, even though they buy offline. That's how you fight the online customers. The buy or companies that ship direct is get those customers to come in your store and take care, and then you take care of them, and they're going to come to you first before they go there. And if you don't have it or whatever, you're not going to feel miffed because they're going to come back and come to your shop for sure. Now, let's check my time. Say 10. All right, so that's my the second question here, and I was going to see if anybody. If you do try to do the form and it doesn't work for you, please let me know. Either ping it here, put it in the comments below, or you can contact me on Justin at IknowAGuyBicycles.com. In any case. All right, I got a couple more questions here that I pulled. This was a good one. This was a comment on a video of mine, and it wasn't directly to exactly the video, but it's fine. People are like, "Oh, I watched your video and I got this idea," whatever. I'm hoping you can give me some advice. My daughter bought all the parts to assemble a road bike, a Trek Damane, I think. She was dating a guy, not this guy, that talked her into it, and was going to show her how to assemble it. Well, they broke up, and the parts are all still here for several years, and I'd like to take it to my local bike shop and have them assemble it. Could you give me an idea what that should pay to have that done? Also, advise on questions that I should ask before committing to having it done. Thank you for your time. All right, so the dad take care of the daughter, get into cycling, you got a bike and parts. You may not know all the parts, or fits that particular drivetrain, where the parts, it could be a mixed bag, all that. I would definitely generally say that when you bring in a box of parts, and any of you can chime in that are in shops right now, please do on the chat, that it's kind of overhaul territory. It's not a tune-up. So let's go into that. Service packages for most shops are like in 3 buckets. One's your light and polite, do adjustments and what have you, maybe a couple one-off upcharges and so forth. That's your lower price point service. The medium range is mostly your meat and potatoes, which most of us do because we want to upsell from the lower one to like a drivetrain clean, maybe a cable and housing replacement, brake pads, that kind of thing, and so forth. Service is usually a completely suspension is completely a separate thing, as well as bleeding brakes and tubeless tires. Just let you know, those are a little more time expensive on us to do. Therefore, that's a la carte for most shops. And then when you have a whole bunch of parts that need to be done and maybe retrofit pieces, maybe you get a different bonnet bracket size for the front derailleur size, those kinds of things need to be addressed. That goes into overhaul perspective. All shops will have a different perspective of overhaul, but it basically means stripping the bike down to the frame and then going through the hubs and everything and putting it all back together. That's probably where that price point's going to lay. Depending on your market, it could be anywhere from like $250 to $350, depending what the cost of living is in that particular area, which usually what it translates to for cost of business. So when you're doing it a very expensive, high-scale living area, like here we call it Cherry Creek's the expensive neighborhood. It's kind of like the Hollywoods, upper, I forget what they call it, Rio Drive, whatever, expensive areas. Those shops are going to have to charge a lot more because their rent or the cost of living there is a lot more. So therefore, if you get a couple price quotes, number 2, tell them exactly what it is. Any mechanic's going to go, oh boy, got a box of parts. And I'm fine with it because I'm going to go, oh, okay, well, if this doesn't fit this particular frame, we'll go and see if we can find something new that'll switch out. Or nowadays, eBay is one of those wonderful platforms for us to dive into and get maybe a retro part to match that drivetrain or whatever piece it fits to get that bike up and running. May cost a little time, a little extra money. Those shops may charge a little upcharge, like, yeah, I bought the derailleur for $20, but it took me time, so I'm going to charge you $30. It's fine, as long as it gets done, right? It's one of those things that gets done right, and it's safe to ride at the end of the day. So what to expect, probably on the upper scale of those service charges, because it's more of an uplift, and there's going to be cables and housing, and if it's a road bike, bar wrap being done, and various other things. So that's a great question. It is going to be a little expensive, but you can try it yourself, and you may not know the pieces that match exactly or what's supposed to be on that Damane, you think. And it might have, depending on the age of it, if it's a newer one with internal cable routing for the brakes or the headset, which all of us mechanics hate. But it's one of those things where it's, it could get a little expensive, but it's going to be a little more of an expensive side. But that being said, though, if done in a shop, they'll know what parts it will work with each other. We had a notorious customer back in the 90s. He was a triathlon, which doesn't matter to the story, but he was a triathlete, but he was very focused on losing weight on his bike because he felt that training more would not help him propel his performance, the bike that needed to be improved. And he kept on going to Velo Swap, which was like a used parts sale every year in Denver, Colorado. And you buy all these parts to hope lighten up his bike. Well, unfortunately, the internet was not available back then, and the knowledge of what was compatible with what was not. So you'd have one brand parts trying to mix with another, It was always a hot mess to work on his bike. Let's put it that way. Because he was very adamant that this was need to go on there. And you're like, it's not going to work on there. Then we try and you're like, there you go. Told you so. But anyway, not to be mean about it, but there's a lot of different parts now. And actually the internet's really good for us. So you can actually look up that part. And if it has an old listing, like for Shimano with an older part, they may have compatible pieces or what's suggested. And you can look that up too and put it together. So in any case, that's where you can take that great bike, get it built up. Then there's going to be some fitting things. This is a great opportunity if you're building it up from scratch to address those fitting pieces. What crank length you want? Are you going to drink the Kool-Aid to go with a shorter crank length? Or do you need to be fitted with a shorter stem? Seat post needs to be longer for leg length. Saddle. It's a great opportunity to build it up from scratch. Therefore, you're not buying a brand new bike or a used bike and going, I got to swap all these parts out. Then I have a bag or a wall for parts that's behind you. That you're like, what do I do with these 45 stems and 25 different saddles? In any case, if it's a good shop, that's what it comes down to. Try to vet yourself a good shop. The prices. It's really more important to have a better shop to do your work than just the price, to be really worried about the price, because at the end of the day, you want to have that riding experience to be the best, and you want the best quality or best service done, really, more than what the price is. You may pay a little more or cost a little more time to drive a little bit further, whatever that cost might be, but it might be a cost equated to it. But at the end of the day, you're going to have a better outcome, a better experience. And for this gentleman's daughter, we'll enjoy riding. That's what we want to do at the end of the day. If we're really doing our job right and really have our passion into cycling, at the end of the day, we want you to be fitted correctly on a safe ride and you're enjoying it. And as my buddy John Bradley says, it just melts underneath you and you don't even think about it, you just ride. So therefore, that's what I suggest on that. There we go. Mr. Scott, thank you for joining in. Appreciate it. Excuse me. Scott's one of my local customers and a very avid cyclist and has brought in a lot of people, which I really appreciate. And has also been a bit advocate of getting people into cycling and also making sure their rides are tuned. He will tease. He will haggle you like your drivetrain makes a lot of noise. I know somebody you need to have that drivetrain cleaned, which is true. And and people, I get it. I'm the same way. I mean, I'm very lazy. I wouldn't say lazy. I'm just like, I don't put an emphasis of importance on things that bug me. And some people, when they go ride, the squeaky chain doesn't bug them, or maybe they it doesn't, it's something that needs to be addressed. But in any case, but he's brought in a couple of individuals that he rides with, and after I've done some nice tune-ups on, their riding experiences have hopefully been a lot better. So that's all it is. Oh yeah, here we are. All right, so I got myself the last question that I printed off here. This is a good one. And this is a heated debate one. And it's not, it's not political, I don't think. You can make it. Well, I guess you can make anything political if you want it. But anyway, comment on one of my videos and says, honest question. Are we also reaching to a point where bikes are getting more reliable and break less? Are we building bikes that don't break down? They're more solid. They last longer. And break less. The easy question on that answer on that one is no. Well, there's so many different parts of a bike. We've discussed this before. The dumbed down breakdown of it is you got frame and fork, you got wheels, and you got componentry, right? Componentry is a constant motion. It wears out depending on what you ride. There's all these different variables. But you're looking at materials and so forth. Yes, they've improved quality over the years of building mass production bikes. And they last a little bit longer and so forth. But I would say pretty strongly, and any of you that are working in shops or have worked in shops, prove me wrong. I'm not a hard line in the sand individual. I mean, if you give me proper data with real experience, like not just like I think it is or just your opinion, but what the industry is actually openly admitted about 10, 15 years ago, they were following the car industry portion of it, where they're going to make bikes more complicated for people to work on themselves. And they're going to have this, return of service work, what have you, to shops, and you kind of generate, their own problem on this, that kind of thing. What I have found working on bikes for multiple decades, and working on bikes now that are aged. I mean, these are 2011, 2012 bikes here. And I've worked on a lot of bikes within the 2000s. And that's where I would say, for mostly my perspective is road and recreational riding, not necessarily the mountain bike scene. That's a whole different animal on that. But like the road and gravel scene, I can really argue the case that you buy a 2007 road bike frame, if you get it adjusted correctly to you for stem and saddle and everything else, but the aged componentry, if it's done correctly, tuned up and all that with new cables and housing and right rubber on there and everything, will ride and perform just as good and just as a good experience than the current bikes that are rolling off the assembly line today. And you can work on them yourself, or a little easier to work on themselves. Cables are a little bit easier accessible. You don't have to worry about very overpriced derailleurs that are electronic shifting, which you can work on that yourself, but it's a cost. The sealant tube thing, there's a whole debate on that one. Then, those are the things, for standard bike. I'm not talking about e-bikes is this whole new thing. But when you're looking at standard bikes, if you're just going to get a recreational road bike or gravel, you can do a cyclocross old gravel bike, and you don't have to you don't want anything super wide. And then again, I do like the wider tire gravel bikes that are designed because of the disc brake systems have come out. But for needless to say, I think they've been building bikes to fail on purpose. Don't have exact proof on that, but the technicality proof I do have, they're more complicated to work on. You got to have more of these specialty tools that you'll only use once if you're lucky, and they're not universal. So you get a new bike, that tool's not going to work on it. You'll have to buy a new tool because you're the tool that they're after. So how I look at it is like, yes, they're trying to drive more business because they want you to buy a new bike every couple of years, 2 or 3 years. And they want to keep rising that price up. I mean, that's business. That's what they want to do. They're not focusing on the consumables as much as like bike shops. I'm not talking about bike shops. I'm talking about bike manufacturers. Where are they making these? Okay, there's a sexy appeal to those, like at the Made Show, that they're making handmade, handcrafted, hand-designed, or like thought-through design. They could be made overseas still, but they actually have the thought of adaptability for any newer upcoming products coming down the line. Fairlight is a very good example of that in England. High-end rental tubing. The dropouts in the back are designed to be switched out, so whatever's coming down the line that's new, you can get that new derailleur, like the new clamp, double clamp, both sides rear derailleur. I can see the point of it for off-road riding, but for recreational, it's dumb. But in any case, I mean, it's just, I'm just an old guy, so don't hate me too much. But I mean, it's retrofittable. And then the concept, like I mentioned before, that the frame builder at the Made Show is like, we're going to make a frame that you can age with. right? So you can do those adjustments, and it'll accommodate for those changes in your body when you get older. That kind of thing, adjustability and comfort and all those things. Most of us are just recreational riders, more so than others. I mean, Sky is a super recreational rider. He loves riding his bike. He has a light speed. It's awesome. And I got him a gravel light speed that we're going to be working up and trying to get him built and fitted on and see if it's a good fit for him. But I mean, then again, I can definitely see it in the quality. In case in point, you can definitely see it in the componentry. Because when they made like the 600 Ultegra or 6000, 6500 Ultegra system, Ultegra 9-speed 2x3x system, they made those for like about 6 years. That stuff was rock solid. Even to today, it's rock solid. If you get it, it's pretty decent shape, and clean it. And with the shifters, they get gummed up. You do the ultrasonic clean or hot water trick to get all the gunk out of there, and flush it with a light lube like Finish Line or Tri-Flow. Tri-Flow lube in there. That could really that superior lube. It really is good on poles and so forth. It will come. A lot of them will come back to life, and the shift like dialed. Scott has a great point. He has like a 9-speed Durace, and that stuff is dead on dialed. What I see today, and not throw any in a bus, but SRAM with their dot oil hydraulic lines that eat up the internals after a period of time. I've had so many problems with those. The Shimano mineral oil based hydraulics are a little better, and also the Tektro ones, you can kind of get those to work better. Therefore, there's those problems. And keep in mind, componentry companies, they only want to keep like warranty their stuff or whatever for 2 years. They don't want to go any longer than that. So basically, when they build something, they only have the mindset it only needs to last 2 years, and then you buy something new. Yes, absolutely. That question right there. Yeah, they're not designed to. They can, but they won't, because they want you to replace that bike. They want you to replace those componentry. They want the bikes to be consumable, like your tires and tubes, because they need. I mean, God, they got to keep selling the $10,000 bikes, where they're basically racing to the bottom. It's just one of those things. Oh, wait, Truth Light. Oh, thanks for chiming in. Thanks for joining us here. Belt-driven internal gears rock. Internal gears are like the Nexus hubs were freaking awesome. I never got a chance to play with any of the roll-off ones, but I've heard those are pretty classic. Sterny Archer ones, and you're thinking like, oh, cruisers. Like, if you don't need a huge wide range of gears, you get like a 9-speed internal with a belt drive. It keeps everything super clean and super stupid simple for the recreational riding. But in any case, it's one of those things. It's just, I say that it's pretty good. But yeah, I would say, going back to the question, are bikes getting more reliable? I think actually the answer is not the bikes, is the shops are becoming more reliable. Independent bike shops are becoming a little more reliable. The ones that are able to sustain and go through, and they gotten I would say a breath of fresh air of learning that service is very important. It slapped some of these bigger chain stores a little bit, like, oh yeah, we really need to invest more into our service departments, having the right people, train people, pay livable wages, figure out how to do that, because there's a huge deficit of good mechanics that are up and coming, because they're just not there anymore. The loss of that was in the early 2000s, where a lot of those small shops dried up, like Parker Bikes, my parents' shop, where we cultivated the local kids, the high school kids, to work at our shop and learn how to work on bikes for a few years. And the time they went off to college, they were pretty decent, seasoned-ish mechanic, and they get picked up by a bike shop like Lee's, where I worked at, which was a college shop right across the street from CSU campus. We'd get those individuals in, and they'd be like plug and play. I mean, they knew how to tune up bikes and so forth. You know, the funkier technical stuff, you'd have your more seasoned mechanics that lived local longer would have those there, but you get this fresh crop. That's not there anymore. Barnett School is gone. There's a couple schools still there, but are they really producing the mechanics that we need or can? And plus, on top of all of that, the cycling industry has gotten so damn overcomplicated across the board from everything. So you just can't go to a standard school to be ready to go into a bike shop. I mean, it takes you years to get to certain levels, and then you may still be dumb on some parts, and you'd be openly admitted to it, like, well, I haven't worked on those because it wasn't in my field where I was working. I mean, it's like totally honest. And now it's such a huge wide range. That's where you get into these more specialty niche shops where they do that really well. Josh has Precision e-bike. He does e-bike stuff so much. I would never learn. It'd take me forever to learn as much as he already knows. And he's been in the e-bike game for 20 years. So I have a video of featuring a shop in my library. Look it up. The guy is like on point. I mean, you're like, it's going to him. I'm not going to try. Suspension work, Dirt Labs. Bam, it's going there. I've done shocks, but no more. Like, even as seasoned, you're doing that. So when you're looking at up-and-comer, and I had an individual approach me before, like, hey, I want to learn how to get into the cycling industry. I'm like, oh my God, I don't know where to tell you to begin. Just get a job at a shop, like clean the floors, fix some flats, something, and then you'll learn from the team, and at some point they'll put you in some training, and hopefully now a lot of shops have developed training within themselves to elevate those individuals. But then again, at the end of the day, it's never been a super high living wage. So if you go and get married and decide to have kids, you're looking for another job. It's just like you can't live that lifestyle unless you're very lucky. Some shops I've heard, I think there are unicorns out there where a service manager was making six figures. I've never been in a shop like that, but I've heard of them. So, but looping back to that, that's where the corporate stores, as much as you may not like them or what have you, it gets the man, or what have you done to the industry or whatever. When you look at the Trek corporate stores, the specialized corporate stores, the Pond Holdings, Mike's Bikes corporate stores, REI, to name a few, they provide all the things: paid benefits, time off, livable wages. Can't blame those individuals to work there. And actually, they brought in a lot of good talent to a lot of those shops, but also they've burned a lot of good talent, and they've gone to do other things other than anything than bicycles. They've gone to engineering or writing books or giving tours on boats or whatever, because it's hard. And when you're passionate about something like this, and this is hard, and it's hard on me. When you're passionate about something and you get into a situation where you don't feel like that company is passionate about it as much as you are, you get bitter. You're like, why are they doing this? Like, it's not just a job to you. It's a lifestyle, and that doesn't fit well. When we closed Parker Bikes, I worked at Performance Bikes for 3 months. That's how long as I could last in a performance bike, because I had such the passion of the bike shop. It just, I couldn't corporate. No. And then I went to go out and work at Lee's, which was a little bit better pay. But I mean, back then I hit the ceiling, and that's why I ended up at Big Five Sporting Goods. So, long story short on that, it's like, yeah, that's, and I don't know how I even got there. You guys, listen to this rolling on over. So yeah, bike mechanics. That's where, leaning onto the bike shops. The bike shops are going to get better because the service departments are being more utilized to save those shops, and that's what's really driving the business currently. People are still riding. A lot of people are still riding. I don't think we had some loss, a nutrition loss from COVID, of course, and that's going to be the case with any boom. But I think we had a lot more people stick than we thought they would. And they're into cycling because they enjoyed it, and they're getting more into it. And if you get into the right shop, if you mold your shop correctly, you're catering to the recreational riders as well. I mean, you could have the racers, and fine, there's a lot of shops that still do that. But if you have more of the warm hug for the recreational riders, I think you'll find yourself developing a bigger community than you can ever imagine. And then you have a better, name for yourself and a more sustainable. Because what it comes down to at the end of the day is you need to brand your shop, not the brands you carry. And I hope you go to a shop that's not just a brand of a company. If you're going to a shop that brands themselves, like Dirt Labs, for example, they're known. And, they're not a full-blown bike shop. They just do suspension service work, but they're known for that. And, the quality precedes them. When you look at like Wheat Ridge in Denver, they're known for various things. They've worked on their brand, even though they carry a Trek Specialized and a handful of other brands. Bike Mart down in Dallas, Fort Worth area, those cats are cool, and they're known for their brand of what they've been developing over these years. They carry a Trek and Specialized too, and they're the first ones to just like tell those companies, they're going to do what they need to do for themselves, for their market. They're not going to let other companies dictate their market. So, and they do invest into their staff and so forth. Wheel and Sprocket up north, Chicago, Milwaukee area. Great family-owned business, multiple locations. The people that work for them are pretty happy being in the cycling industry. So, and the owners take care of their people. So, it's just those things. That's so the bikes will probably degrade. If you find yourself some handmade niche bikes out there, they're going to last long. Lightspeed's up there, Linsky's up there for titanium. Moots here is good. Prime example, Lightspeed's an example for longevity and putting longevity into tie frames. They are so confident on their older titanium bikes that they will take them in as trade-in, and they take those bikes and they donate them to a charity in Atlanta. But they know those frames are going to hold up. In case of point, Scott, that's in the chat, he has a Lightspeed, and he's riding the living hell out of it since the late 80s, early 90s. And that thing is still solid. I mean, and, if there's something happen, they can be repaired. There's Black Sheep here in Fort Collins that will repair titanium bikes and do alterations if you need to and that kind of thing. So, and not affiliated with any of them, that kind of deal. But they're just known. They're just known. So back to the original question, are bikes becoming more reliable? No, they're designed to fail. So they come see us. I mean, that's what it comes down to, unfortunately. Dan B. Rides. Thank you for joining. What is your take on Amazon generic tools and parts? Ooh, that's a hot topic. And I got some inside dirt on that one. Do you use them often? And do you shop top tier brands nowadays? Park Tools is the Snap-on of bicycle industry tools. Start there. That's like there's the bar. That's the top line. They put a lot of thought in their tools, qualities, testing, and all that kind of stuff. Classic car. Anyway, so they have top tier newer tools, and I've been in shops that pretty much that was the staple of most of the tools. And then you have a few that float in from Feedback Sports and then Pedro's. And there's other companies that have been trying to make tools compete, but Park is the one to chase. Okay, when you look at Amazon, that's a whole freaking different beast, right? Okay, so here's manufacturing 101. You go overseas. I got this part I want you to make, or a tool that I want you to make. Also, a lot of tools from Park Tools are made in the United States. Anyway, so the quality control, they're right there, that kind of thing. A lot of, even goes to the bike manufacturing and so forth, if it's big enough, they'll have their own people live in those countries to oversee the manufacturing of those parts and so forth. So for like Feedback Sports, they probably are not made in the United States. They may be made somewhere else in a different country. They'll probably have somebody there, either visits or part-times, to make sure the quality control and all that stuff is to their reputation and design and all that. Okay, so you have that individual that has the CAT file of that part, and he steals it. He's in a foreign country, so there's no damn thing you do about it. And he goes over to somewhere else and has that same part made. I think I have a perfect example of this. Park Tool chain checker. Some knockoff brand that I bought. Look kind of same. Okay, so there's a big problem going on for manufacturing knockoff tools and so forth. Some of them do work just fine. I have a couple that just got because they're just cheap. I didn't want to pay $400 for a bearing press when I thought I'd give one a try off of Amazon. They can work okay. You put yourself at risk because the better the tool, the better result you're going to have, the less problem you're going to have with you doing that. And there's different tool manufacturers like Park that do a lot of testing and training, all that. This is a CAD file knockoff. This has actually been tested and so forth. And by the way, these are obsolete now. Apparently, Park Tool came out with a new one that does the chain stretch of the flat top SRAM chains or whatever. It's a pretty inexpensive lift. I think they're like $15 or something like that. It's the longer one. Plus, the length is longer, and they actually can measure the chain a little bit more correctly. So you have that tool that Park makes, is a little bit higher quality. The good chance of that, and plus it has a lot better warranties on it too. They are proud of their stuff. Not just because of the price, but also proud of it because if you have any problems with it, you can contact them and go, hey, I'm having issues with this. They'll take care of you. And they've been taking care of me in several different shops over several different decades. So, and Feedback Sports is another brand, the same thing. It's like if I got this tool and it's starting to wear out, they'll probably just send you a new tool. But this knockoff brand from some other is not going to send you a new tool. So here's the thing about unknown mystery about Amazon, right? Okay, so we're going to get really weird about Amazon. Let's get funky with it. Finding out from a former employee of a big brand manufacturer that sells to bike shops as well as on Amazon and so forth. So when you look at Amazon, they have like, you get that stuff that's like there the second day or that afternoon, right? And it's a pile of stuff, like the particular model. Let's say for this, we'll say this for example, like Park Tool makes this tool here, right? And Park Tool sends to Amazon Fulfillment Center 4,000 of these, right? You get put in there. And then another company makes a knockoff, none still known to Amazon because they don't know. I mean, those guys don't know. But sends another batch of tools, looks exactly the same, puts it in the same bin with these tools. They're not delineated between the different ones. They get just all put in the same bin. So lo and behold, one person gets the correct one, the next person gets the knockoff. And then all of a sudden, Park Tool gets an email going, something's wrong with your tool or whatever, and have you. And so there is not just with Park Tool, that's all their products, even though it has, being fulfilled. So if it's being fulfilled directly from that company, so not overnight per se, you're probably getting the product being shipped directly from that company. If it's in their fulfillment centers, there's a good chance, there might be a chance, or at least there's a slight chance that some fakes are rolled in there. Exactly. And it even takes them a hot minute to figure out if it's exactly theirs or not, because it's so close. So there's the backlash of fake parts being built in there. Stories about fake chains from Shimano, fake products of that sort, so forth. So in other words, buyer beware when you're buying from like Amazon, where it's a fulfillment, where a lot of stuff gets put in the same bin and shipped to individuals. When it comes to the more important tools that I use on a daily basis, that is closer to my hot zone on my wall, I do spend a little bit more money on those because they're going to last a bit longer. I do have to be openly admit that I bought a lot of park tools because, number one, I know they're higher quality, but I wanted a blue wall to be very professional looking when somebody came over to drop their bike off to be tuned up. I wanted to have that wow factor. I've mixed a few other brands in there over the years, of course, and that's with every shop. Sometimes inexpensive tools fit that once a year thing. If it does it okay, you're fine. If it's high quality, expensive thing you're doing, you better have a high quality tool that goes to that bike. So if you're working on a $10,000 bike and you're using a very cheap tool and you muff up their bearing press or somehow messed up the bearing installation, but using a faulty bearing press, you're on the hook for that cost. Just heads up on that. So as you're a professional mechanic, you want to make sure you have the best tools available in your arsenal to do the job right. Allen wrench is a great example of that. Allen wrenches, if you use them all the time, wear out. And you may not know it, or you may know it, or you go through them. I have 3 different types of Allen wrenches. I have the Park Tool ones, which are these T-handles here. Also, I was very intrigued about the Wera, W-E-R-A. These, they have a little bit different design. They have a little like indentation, so they have a cup that cuts into the head of that Allen, or it could be metric or standard, but bikes are all metric. And then from Silka, I drank the Kool-Aid of the Silka high-end. They said their tolerances are just a little more bumped out, so it's a little bit tighter fit for the Allen fittings to those particular bolts, which to me, it seems to be true how I've been using this for over a year. So if I get a stubborn Allen bolt, let's just say a water bottle bolt, get corroded, whatever, they did too many sugary drinks, whatever, got in there and seized up the mixed materials between the hardened steel Allen bolt with the aluminum crimper to hold the bolt in place. So you got, it's a recipe for disaster for mixed metal corrosion bit. And that's why I put a little grease on all of my water bottle bolts. But it gets in there and it doesn't, you use your Park Tool one and it's like, oh, it feels like it wants to waddle out. And then I go to the Wera and sometimes it fits in there a little bit better if it's been, compromised. And then I can pop that to break free. And then down to the last case, then I use the Silka, which will fight it and clean it all out. Get that Park Tool pick, or the poor man's pick is basically an old spoke that's ground down to a pick, and clean it all out, and then you get that Allen to fit in there. Okay, so long story short on those, like, yeah, a tool from Amazon that's inexpensive, they may only use once in a while, might just do the fit. If you're working on bikes every day and all the time, yes, you want to invest in your tools. If you're just a novice getting into just doing some bike maintenance in general, some of those inexpensive kits are great as a starter. You don't have to buy thousands of dollars worth of tools just to start working on your bikes. You can get one of the $100, $150 kit just to do the general. If you start doing more of it, or you start noticing you've been using one tool more than the other, then just jump and get the more expensive tool and use that one as a backup or what have you. So there's a philosophy as a mechanic of what tools you use over a period of time and what kind of, not saying that, some of them are pretty decent on Amazon or okay, which I have a couple. They're all right. But then again, I use them like once every 2 years. It does the thing and that's it. But every other ones are pretty much on a daily basis. I picked up these Ace Hardware ones for it was a kit, pretty priced. But quite honestly, I noticed after I use them for a little while, the quality's just not quite there. So I'll probably will just dive in and buy the Park Tool version of the cutters. I just needed different sizes because I like really cutting the zip ties down really tight. And then again, I'm using them on zip ties. I'm not using them for other things, but the other ones I do. So it does really, I'm sorry, that's a long answer to an interesting question. And there's, I would say the top brand would be Park Tools, what's been used and they make a whole variety of different tools from everything. That's their business. And then you have Feedback Sports, which is really good for repair stands. They have a pretty cool new one that's electric for the e-bike stuff or heavier bikes. Also, they have another one that's interesting because they use a pump. You hook the pump at the base of it and use the floor pump to elevate the heavy bike up off the ground, which I might get one of those for when I do those events. I've been noticing more e-bikes on those, like the MS 150 or MS Bike MS and those kinds of events that could be nice to have something in the field that can work. And Polite has a good example. I do have some of those toolkits. I just put it in the car, or I have those toolkits for doing the events. And then I'm not robbing all these tools off my bench to go do the event. So they're just set aside for those events. And I do keep note now when I come across an event, I'm noticing like, oh, I need this tool or whatever tool I end up stealing here, then I'll go buy a new one. So either get a nicer one to replace the one that's on the wall, which is probably the best case, and you put that in the events toolbox for the car, and then you have the nicer tool. So once you get into it, man, it's like, that's my addiction, to be quite honest. Last year, I went down the rabbit hole and I bought some vintage tools that I probably will never use, but I wanted them for manipulating old steel frames, how to bend the frame out, or alignment tool, or a fork gauge for old school forks, where, you can't do it with carbon, but you do with old steel forks, you can manipulate them. I'm looking at them, they're across the way. They're crazy. So you can go down a rabbit hole big time. Oh, and then the other Polite, we had another point on there. The more expensive tools are, get stolen. So that does remind me with bikes, tools, when you get in it, you're starting to put a lot of money into it. Take pictures and videos of all that stuff. So when you leave the garage open, like I am right now, and I go in and take a whiz, and I come out and something's missing, at least I have documentation. I have that. If you can keep receipts, that's even better. So I can go to my insurance, because most of your homeowner's insurance will cover the small claims, which, if somebody stole these two bikes, that's going to be a big claim. And I need that to be taken care of. And then the horrible phone call to the customer. But you don't want, some of these tools can get really expensive pretty quick. Or damage in a fire or whatever the case may be. You want to definitely cover that. So always have a digital copy in the cloud of what you have in inventory wise. Therefore, it helps you with that claim to do a proper claim, that kind of thing. So it's a side note because I saw stolen on there, and garage stuff, it was really huge for a long time. In any case, oh my God, we're at the top of the hour already. Woo, that went quick. My goodness. Great interaction today. That's awesome. Appreciate it. Thank you all for joining in. I do have things I need to do. Yeah, I'm working on a pair of Specialized road bikes, older, 2011, 2012. Fitting is one. Second, they didn't like the SRAM dual tap. So we're going all Tegra componentry, and holy cow, it's, it's, yeah, a whole drivetrain replacement on this one. New cables and housing, of course, and all that, and I had to do a lot of, because they've been professionally fitted, so I had to be really mindful of getting the shifters and the angles of the bars, everything as they were, pretty close as they originally were. And there's going to be some different changes. He's doing like the Redshift handlebars here, long haul, I think they're called, or top shelf, long haul comfort bars. I did the work on the wives with the flared out. I call them wings, but they have like a flatter platform for the grips. This stuff here, it's kind of cool. I don't know if you guys have played with this at all, but it's a bar end grip on the bottom kind of thing. And you do wings and, okay, so you have this piece here, this flanges out the bend of the bar. So it gives you more of a flat position to hold on to. And then on the bottom piece, it's basically a grip, like a flat bar grip put underneath. Goes underneath, it gives you another hand position if you go down there. So if you're doing just these with the standard bar, you need their extra long bar tape, which I have somewhere. There's a box of it. But loops to your known. If you get these and you're doing the lower ends too, a regular length bar tape will be just fine. And the thing is you get the longer one, and you're like, oh, I can probably just use only one. It's just short enough that you can't use one roll. Anyway, so yeah, we're doing a whole little kit there and putting on some, detailing the frame and waxing the chain and all that good stuff. So those are my two main projects, and then Scott's light speed old cross bike. Going to be finishing that up for him, and yeah, busy. And here's the thing. I mean, I know you guys have been pretty busy too, but for me, social media and YouTube has driven a customer base where I've brought in customers that go for a further distance. So an hour and a half drive distance away, though people will bring bikes for me to work on, as they see me here on YouTube and wanted me to do their service work. And I've acquired those customers, and they continuously bring me service. And since I am a one individual in a shop, I'm set up not to do volume. So my workload currently with those great customers I have has pushed my turnaround time or my appointment time now to over 4 weeks out to do those. And granted, I talked about this in videos before. I do keep an open slot for the rush job if need be. So it puts me in a better paced position, so I'm not freaking out and pulling out my hair out and making the job a lot more stressful than it should be. So therefore, that's, obviously that's part of my business, but the other part is also refurbishing parts and refurbishing bike frames and selling those. So it's another part of it, just basically a bike shop selling bikes, but used. So therefore, I finally found kind of a nice rhythm, and it's profitable enough to able to spend a little time to do YouTube and doing that. And also YouTube has driven business as other way around. I've seen other social influencers, not going to name them, but they claim they want to cut back or cut down or close their store or just do videos, and they have way more subscribers than me, and they get a lot more money through the YouTube platform directly. But I would say that my business has benefited from doing this venture of social media YouTube influence type perspective. Has brought in a lot more business than general advertising would ever have. Plus, I'm a character that you listen in every other week or whatever when you have time and watch some of my videos of doing dumb stuff. Trying to work on bikes, bring back the old. And any of those that are out there that have been in the industry for a while, just want to let you know that YouTube's only been around for 20 years now, or I think there was, or 15. And anything that predates that is knowledge that has not been capsulized in a YouTube or a video form to a point where it's accessible. So there's huge gold mines of material for people just to bring to light. So in other words, I'm saying this out loud, that this platform, it's not crowded whatsoever. And anybody can start making videos of how to install stems and work on old hubs or anything in the cycling perspective realm and be successful if they just commit to it and spend time to it. But the big thing is consistency. You got to push out a video a week. It doesn't have to be super long. Just it has to be decent gold content from the heart, and you'll succeed. It'll take time, but there's all these little things along the way. But over a period of time, I've noticed starting last year, or actually before that, I was getting business from just the video. I wasn't making any money off of YouTube, but I was making money through YouTube. So, and then you got the affiliate portion of it and all that. For me, that's the long game, because at some point I only will be able to stand and work on bikes for so long during the day. But that's kind of like my retirement parachute, if you will. If I build up enough contact over the years, it'd be able to self-sustain and bring some kind of income to offset or help out with retirement whenever I get to that point. So in any case, that's me in a nutshell. Yeah, Noah, thank you for joining in. Yeah, thanks for chiming. And again, if you're hitting this on a tail end, watch it on the replay. I do apologize, there will be ads. That's when I turn on the ad thing. So hopefully our live streams are not bombarded by any disruptive ads, because our conversations are, they're priceless in real time. If you have a good supply chain of stuff. But here's the thing, just a couple minutes left here. I guess we're lucky here in a sense that tubes and tires and consumables, bar wrap, that's the stuff we're always going to have to try to bring in, but that is the cheaper stuff to bring in. So if it is overly inflated by 3x, 4x, 10x, the cost is absorbable-ish. Bikes are not, frames, wheels are not, but we've been buying bikes in the States, and they've been pushing bikes in our market for so long. We have a huge reserve of used living in everybody else's garages right now. It's just abundancy of it. And now it's getting all caught up and thrown on, Facebook Marketplace or Craigslist or whatever. There's a ton of it, and the prices are going down. And now we have great opportunity for anybody that it's a buyer's market for used flat out. You want to get that titanium bike? There's like 2 or 3 of them around $500 in my neck of the woods. May not be the right size, but but between 500 to 1,000. I've been finding and getting full carbon bikes, you know, $300-400, and sometimes you pay a little bit more, you get a little bit nicer. You know, there's not a consistent. It's Wild West, of course, but if you know what you're looking for, you can probably find a pretty pristine, good full carbon bike for mid 500. May not need too much of anything. Good steel frames are popping up. So for those who are taking advantage of the used market and selling used bikes or used parts and frames and so forth, we have a massive amount of inventory. If you're looking to get that older bike fixed from like a 10 speed or 11 speed down in range, you're going to be able to find parts in the used market. Hit and miss some on some. I heard the 10 speeds are getting kind of tricky, but we have a reserve of inventory that's not tariffed. Let's put it that way. It's not tariffed at all. This is just our own stuff that we're, so more of those shops that can bring more used parts that are refurbished and checked and inspected to the market, the better. And then that will enable us, a lot of the shops, to be able to do the volume repairs and go, oh crap, well, they don't have that rear derailleur at QVP or BTI or whoever new. Let's go check eBay and find a seller that has over 1,000 positive reviews. And they're like, oh, okay, that's a legit, and they're refurbishing them, that kind of thing. There's a good chance you'll find a part there that will be able to get you right, and maybe a part that matches the vintage of that particular bike you're working on, and put a little service charge on that and call it good. Because the prices on those are, pretty still, they're not robbery at this point. They're still, the parts still are pretty inexpensive. I mean, you get like some Ultegra caliper 6500 brakes for like $20, $30. Brake calipers for a road bike. I mean, so I mean, you can go that route. And, if you're having the right mechanic looking at the pictures and asking the right questions from those parts providers on eBay or elsewhere, they're going to be able to get you a part that's going to keep that ride going. So I would say what would really hurt the most in this whole tariff riffraff back and forth would be the consumables of chains, cassettes, tires, tubes, cables, housing, those kinds of things. Although I've been able so far to buy stuff that's on sale still, so that means they're still readily available. But 6 months from now, a year from now, I don't know. It's just brutal. I don't know. We don't know. So as a shop, that's what I would invest in. For those consumable pieces, and which is not going to be as expensive as buying a whole bunch of extra bikes, because you can go out in to fill your floor if need be. It's just what a lot of shops have been doing for the last year and a half, 2 years. It's just diving into the used market, you diving into that gold mine of inventory that's been just sitting there, refurbish them, bring them, upcycle is another term for that, for sure. Oh yeah, Noah has a great point there. Thanks for James. Customers are willing to travel for a good mechanic. If they're a decent avid cyclist, they will travel far. I have a few, and a few are watching right now. They will drive far. And, I mean, they're taking like 3 hours of their life of just getting a bike to me and picking it up later. But that 3 hours is saved by 3 hours or more of frustration of going back and forth to a shop that they don't know who's working on their bike, or maybe not that great of service or what have you. And not to, there is good shops probably closer to them, but some people, that's becoming a thing. It's like we're becoming like miniature rock stars. People want us to, work and tinker on their bikes, and maybe make a video of it and so forth. And that's where I think like the bike farmers kind of lost sight of. Is like, I mean, I don't think he really wants to work on bikes except for the ones he wants to work on, which is fine. But he's complaining like, other shops are taking away all the business. He can't compete or anything like that. And it's like, sorry, it's a little bit different in my neck of the woods. And I do a lot of local service, but some of my service has actually traveled quite a bit. And he's pretty close to, I think Milwaukee. No, not Milwaukee. Trex Home Corporate, Madison, I think, or something like that. But I think he has an opportunity if he wanted to. But he's gotten so big now, quite honestly, I think he's doing a lot of talk. But realistically, what he's going to do is, I want to do more YouTube videos, and that's where it's the easier lift for him, or newer lift for him, or what makes him happy, and that's fine. That's fine. He doesn't have to do what all the rest of us are doing or anything or like it. As long as we're happy doing what we're doing and we're serving our communities, or in our cycling communities, who cares? I mean, yeah, good. I mean, good for him. He broke 100,000 subs. I mean, he's the prime example that the rest of us can do it. I mean, if you want to put into it, you can do it. You can do it. You just find your style, your niche, your group, your peoples. They're out there. And then before you know it, you'll have a micro community like mine, which I adore and love. And I feel like instead of growing, I didn't grow too fast. So I feel like I have more of a more rich community in my subscriber base than some others. It's not that, I don't know, maybe, I don't know. That's how it feels that way to me. I feel more comfortable here than growing too fast and be like, oh God, I got too many fans. And it enables me to adjust too. That's what the other beautiful part is. I can adjust more on a micro level adjustments versus like, oh crap, I went too far this way, or did this too different way, or try different things, and as a flop, then my channel's dead, or everybody hates me. Yeah, Scott, you have a huge commute to get to my garage. All 5 miles of it. Awesome. Yeah, I was just reading a polite statement here. Yeah. Also, I think the farmer was talking about closing his doors. Like, he's a small enough shop. And here's a prime example. Is like, it could be appointment-based straight out. Mine's been appointment-based for the last 5 years, 6 years. I never had running hours. Like, I didn't want that. It doesn't work with me. It's not for me because my life is just, I don't know, it's weird. But it's family life. Like, everybody has a life. But this has really made it conducive to me. It's like I have a schedule. It's available. People can pick out times when I feel available. If I need to take time off, I block off time, and then I take time off and all that. Everything appointment based. I don't have people rolling by most of the time. Scott pops in once in a while, but he's an exception to the rule. But I mean, it's most of it. It's like that's once you get that, cultivate that customer base that just knows your style, and that it works. It works just fine. And everybody's respectful of like your time off too, because like, hey, I'm only one here, so it's like I need to take a break. You don't want this grumpy old mechanic working on your stuff because you can't take a break. Not good for anyone. So yeah, and that's worked out really well. And the business model that I didn't think, I did a test on this initially. Like, will people like come to your house and it'd be weird? No. Actually, it's fine. I have newer customers and I'm like, oh, I didn't realize you're a house, but that's fine. And I tell them the story, and they look at this and they're like, oh, damn, I gave them the right place. I'm good. It's like any kind of concerns they had is like gone the second they walk up to the front of the garage, and it's like, boom, like, oh, I'm in the right place. That's what you want to give all your customers, and the customers that I'm cultivating, that's what it is. Maybe, there's some customers I don't fit with. If you're doing a lot of full suspension, downhill race riding, and that kind of stuff, I'm not your guy. That's fine. If you're doing a lot of e-bike and you have e-bike issues and so forth, I got Josh. He'll take care of you. He's only a little further down the road. He'll take care of you. You have suspension problems, the other direction. You go down to Longmont. They'll take care of you down there. It's like I don't have to do everything. And you don't have to either if you want to have a small shop. And I know, those who have built up small shops like that, you found your niche, and you work with your customers. And if you get enough customer bases to a point, it's like, I don't need that many more customers. I mean, I do want customers, of course. I want to take care of my community and so forth, but it doesn't take that much to keep you going. And then if you diversify in the sense of selling parts and stuff online and so forth, that helps you in the off season, especially if you're willing to ship. And then you have this healthy work balance that you're passionate about and enjoying coming down. I don't feel like I'm working. I mean, my body gets sore from standing, but I could do that at a soccer game or be a Walmart greeter. I mean, it'd be the same pain, but I'm really happy doing what I'm doing. And I hope that resonates with the customers I work with on a daily basis. And they seem to like me. So that's cool. I'll keep going with it as much as I can, and try to, at the end of the day, I just want people to get on bikes and enjoy, have a good time, and on a safe bike that works correctly and fits them. That's what we all are hoping for. And a lot of us, we work. I've been there. I worked so much that I've lost it. Like I lost my mantra. I lost my passion because it was beaten out of me. It was working too much on it all and not writing enough and those kinds of things. And if you can find that happy medium, then you can get out there and ride. That's where I'm kind of afraid with Aaron. Like I talked about before, Aaron at Go Grava is like, he's talking about he's working so many days straight. It's like, I mean, I know you enjoy working, but I mean, and I know you've been preconditioned to do it, but sure shit, man, go for a ride. Build that in. Like 3 days a week, just go out for a couple of hours. Just lose your mind just riding. Just don't even think about anything. Just point and go. Or go lay on the beach or whatever. You got to take time off. Even though you may think you're okay, you're not okay. I can guarantee you that. I mean, I've been there. I thought I was okay for a while, and then all of a sudden, boom, I am not okay. And when you hit that break point, you got a lot to lose when you're an owner of a shop. So that's my words of wisdom of experience. Like, take that time off when you need to. Your customers will understand because they need time off from what they do too. So that's where, everybody needs a healthy work balance. Figure that out. It needs to be figured out. However that works. So makes you a better mechanic, makes you a better shop owner, makes you better part of your cycling community. Whew, rattling on. Oh, I gotta go. I got things to do. Thanks again. I'll do some shout outs to who jumped in. The Bike Guy Mobile. Thanks for chiming in at the last moment here. Yeah, this country has been built on home businesses and garage investors. Are we the next HP? Or no, not HP. Who was it? No, it was Apple. I know they did that. And it was also Gates, Windows. That's what it was. My head's not in the right place. Noah James, thank you for chiming in. Appreciate it. Oh, John Duff, I didn't see that. You're the non-surly bike farmer. Hey, people apparently like it. I mean, they like the surliness. I just want to bring more weight, like some more, meat and potatoes, something you can really take home instead of putting Pledge on your bike. That is a dad jabbing joke. Don't put Pledge on your bike. But hey, if that's what you have and that's what you want to use, okay. Anybody who watches the Bike Farmer, you'll get that joke. Scott, thank you for chiming in. Polite Chihuahua, I know I butchered that. Thank you. I've seen you in here several times. Noah James again. I'm just going backwards through the chat. Oh, Dan B. Rides. Great question. Thank you. I have I've seen one of your chats or comments before I need to reply to. Sorry, I've been kind of slow on trying to catch up on it's. You get bigger and you get bigger problems in a lot of different ways. Josh at Precision E-Bike, kudos. Keep up the good fight. You're doing a great job. You're helping us all out locally with e-bike related things. Randy, Candidates 26, thank you again for chiming in. Way Truth Light, you had some good questions there too, or comments, statements. And Randy, brother from another bike shop mother, yes, we'll be seeing you next week too. Heavy Metal Cycles, thank you for kicking off the questions today. Some great insights. And David, did I answer your questions? Oh yeah, about batteries. You guys were talking about batteries and stuff. Yeah. I divert all those questions to Precision e-bike in Fort Collins, Colorado. Give him an email or a call if you have any major questions. Mark Ella, thank you for chiming in. Again, John Depp. Yeah, you guys, great chat. Great chatting today. Awesome. Engagement. Awesome. Hope you like the layout. News first, questions from what I've been chattering and so forth. I didn't see anybody as of yet fill in the questionnaire form. Maybe the people will fill in throughout the week. That's fine. I'll add those to the pledge. I switched from pledge to spray away window cleaner. That's awesome. Oh yeah. I mean, yeah, you know, non-traditional products on bikes, but I usually try to keep it within the spectrum of what the properties of the material is supposed to go with. Like car detailing products to paint and tires is pretty close fit, but pledge maybe. But again, disclaimer, I do not condone any kind of spraying anything on anywhere on your bike. All those little particles, spray it on a rag first, then apply it. Yeah, those little particles will get on your disc rotors or compromise your brakes. You don't want your happy butt like crashing into something because, oh, I wiped my bike down with pledge and I didn't realize I got it on my rims and my rim brakes were not working and I smashed into the local car or whatever. So be safe about it. And if you do end up spraying stuff on there, take rubbing alcohol to clean the brake surfaces off, either disc or as well rim brakes. That's a tech tip for safety there. In any case, I better go. I got stuff to do. Got lunch to eat. I got probably a dog to walk that you got to introduce to earlier. Thanks again, guys. I appreciate it all. I will see you next Tuesday at Shop Talk Tuesday. And again, if it's Tuesday in your neck woods, please join us live, 10 o'clock Mountain. If not, thanks for watching the replay. These have been getting a lot of views on the replay. I really appreciate you. If you don't have the time to watch another live, you can just pop it in while you're working and working on other stuff and chime in in the comments below. That's another form of interaction, keeping our community fresh and knowledgeable. If you got knowledge to share, please share it. You know, if you're part of the industry, that's great. I'll be bringing up more feature conversations and interviews down the line with other key peoples in the industry, and I'm always looking to have those conversations. It's just, you know, fun to talk to people and see their insights and so forth. And again, thanks for hanging out with me in the garage. Next time, have a wonderful day. Keep the sunny side up and the rubber side down. Oh yeah. Is my bike okay?